Here's what the full setup for the Bod Pod looks like. Let's go over the basic components. Moving from left to right, you see the computer, which houses the Bod Pod software. Below is a simple printer used for printing off results. Next, there is a scale. This scale is calibrated prior to each use of the Bod Pod screening. Beside the scale are weights that are specifically weighted for calibration. These weights have a combined weight of 20 kilograms. Behind the scale is the calibration tube. This tube has a known factor for weight, size, and density when calibrating the Bod Pod itself. Finally, you have the Bod Pod. When looking at the Bod Pod chamber, there are a few things that are important to point out. Around the door is a seal as well as magnets, which help keep a controlled airflow during air displacement process. On the bottom portion of the wall, next to the legs, is a quick release button. This allows the client to stop the test from inside, release the magnets, and open the door on their own if needed. On the main screen, you will see 6 options to choose from on the left side of the screen. Test. This is used when it is time to conduct a test. Practice. When practice is needed with certain aspects of the Bod Pod and we do not want to skew a client's test results. Data management. This allows any information to be fixed that was entered incorrectly prior to the test, for example, birth date or height. System setup. COSMED representatives use this tab when setting up your Bod Pod or doing maintenance. QC. This includes the drop-down menu for the calibration process. Exit. This tab allows you to exit the software program. Now that the basic components have been covered, let's start the calibration process. First, click the QC button. Notice the drop-down menu that appears. The first 5 tabs are what will be used to calibrate the Bod Pod. Start at the first tab and work down, following the directions provided on the screen. Analyze hardware. The Bod Pod will begin the process of checking each of its systems to make sure they are working accordingly. Once the directions on the screen are followed, click the dark blue tab that says Next. This tab will not be able to be clicked unless it is dark blue. After each step, the software will state if the analyzation test was a pass or fail. If it fails, the test will need to be repeated. If it passes, click on Next and resume the analysis. The software resumes testing of the magnets and the airway valves. The next portion of the calibration process is to determine the amount of air that is currently in the Bod Pod itself. This process takes approximately 45 seconds. Once the Bod Pod determines how much air is in the chamber, the calibration tube must be placed in there to give a known value. This process takes approximately 45 seconds. The analyzing of hardware is now complete. Go back to the QC tab, open the drop-down menu, and click Calibrate Scale. Follow the prompts on the Bod Pod screen. The software calibrates the empty scale to give it a beginning value and makes sure it is level and no additional weight has been put on the scale, which will skew the weight results. Once that is complete, the 20 kilogram weights are placed on the scale. This is a known value for the software and allows for an accurate calibration of the scale. The software will then calibrate the weights on the scale. The software requires the weights to be placed on the scale and removed 3 times until a complete calibration of the scale has been done. The screen will indicate if the calibration was a pass or fail. If the test fails, it must be repeated. If it passes, go to the next step. Go back to the QC tab, open the drop-down menu, and click Check Scale. The screen will state when the calibration was last completed. This calibration must be done every 2 weeks. If it has been longer than 2 weeks, click the Calibrate Scale tab to do the test that was just completed. If it is within 2 weeks, click Next. This is the check scale portion of the calibration. It is very similar to the scale calibration that was just performed. However, it only requires the weights to be placed and removed from the scale once. The screen will indicate if the calibration was a pass or fail. If the test fails, it must be repeated. If it passes, go to the next step. Calibration of the scale is now complete. Go back to the QC tab, open the drop-down menu, and click Auto Run. The software will take 6 measurements of the Bod Pod chamber and volume. Do not touch the Bod Pod at this time and do not open any doors during this process. After each measurement, the volume is displayed and must fall within the required values. Continue to follow the prompts on the Bod Pod computer screen and clicking Next after each step. After the auto run is complete, the screen will indicate if the auto run was a pass or fail. If the test fails, it must be repeated. If it passes, go to the next step. The standard deviations are listed on the screen as well. Go back to the QC tab, open the drop-down menu, and click Volume. Continue to follow the prompts on the Bod Pod computer screen and clicking Next after each step. The first measurement requires the Bod Pod to be empty. Each measurement takes approximately 45 seconds. The next 5 subsequent measurements will have the calibration tube in the Bod Pod chamber. The software requires the Bod Pod door to be opened and closed after each of these measurements. Once the volume has been measured, the screen will indicate if the volume test was a pass or fail. If the test fails, it must be repeated. If it passes, go to the next step. The standard deviations are listed on the screen as well. Volume measurements are now complete, and the Bod Pod is ready for testing an individual's body composition. The software will ask to confirm if the scale calibration has been done within the past 2 weeks. If it had not been completed, the Calibrate Scale tab will need to be clicked, and the entire scale calibration will need to be completed. For this demonstration, it has been completed, so the Next tab can be clicked. If the client has conducted a Bod Pod before, then the Retrieve Subject Information tab will be clicked to search for the client. There are various ways you can search for client information and past tests. Today, the search will be done using the client's first name. Once the client's name is typed in, all clients within this particular Bod Pod software will populate in the menu below. Click on the blue box next to the client's name. Their information will populate and allow information to be double-checked for errors, as well as confirm the correct client has been chosen. If the correct client has been chosen, click Next. This allows a test to begin by using information that has already been entered into the system. If the wrong client has been chosen, the Back tab or the Cancel tab can be clicked to exit the screen. For this demonstration's purpose, a new client will be tested. So this particular test using an old client will be canceled. This reverts back to the previous screen, allowing a new client to be entered into the system. Enter the client's name, birthday, gender, height in inches, and ethnicity. Notice there are 2 categories for ethnicity: general population and African American/Black. This has to do with bone density. Examples for general population are Caucasian, Asian, and Hispanic. Any person that has a combination of African American/Black with any other ethnicity needs to click on the African American/Black tab. This population has a higher bone density than other populations, and it reflects in an individual's body composition and needs to be accounted for. The individual being tested today falls under the general population category. The next screen shows options for density models and the thoracic gas volume. The density model is determined by ethnicity as well as an individual's size based on their weight. Because this individual is within general population group, the Brozek model and the Siri model are available. The Brozek model will be used if the client is severely obese. Unless you manually change the density model, it will automatically assume the client is not in the obese category and place them in the Siri model. Thoracic gas volume measures the amount of space your lungs take up. They are a hollow organ and need to be calculated as such. The thoracic gas volume model has 3 options: entered, predicted, and measured. The entered amount is only used if the client's thoracic gas volume has already been measured separately, and those numbers will be used for this test. The predicted amount is what the Bod Pod will predict the client's thoracic gas volume will be based upon their measurements. This is the one that is most commonly used, less invasive, and is very accurate. The measured amount is used when a client's thoracic gas volume is tested while in the Bod Pod. This process is more invasive and harder to get accurate readings as it requires the clients to gently huff at a certain pace throughout the Bod Pod assessment. For demonstration purposes, the predicted amount will be used. The amount given is displayed below the selection. Continue to follow the prompts on the Bod Pod computer screen and clicking Next after each step. Notice many of the steps are being repeated. These steps will be conducted for each new client or assessment to ensure accurate measurements. Following the prompts on the screen, make sure that the client has approved testing clothes on, including a swim cap to cover the hair, jewelry, eyeglasses, shoes, and socks have all been removed. The scale is then prepped for weighing the client. Once the scale is ready, the client will be prompted to step on the scale. The client must remain motionless while the scale is taking an accurate measurement. Once the measurement has been taken, the client will be asked to step off the scale. Continue to follow the prompts on the Bod Pod computer screen and clicking Next. The client's weight is now visible and will be asked to step into the Bod Pod. Inform the client to sit all the way back in the Bod Pod and remain as still as possible and to not hold their breath while in the Bod Pod. The door will be opened between each measurement. This is also a good time to make sure your client is doing okay and not feeling claustrophobic or panicky. The Bod Pod will conduct 2 to 3 measurements, each measurement lasting approximately 45 seconds. After the second measurement, if a third measurement needs to be taken, it will be stated on the screen. Today, the client only needed 2 measurements. A third measurement can be needed for various reasons, such as if the client was fidgety, breathing abnormally, or if the air pressure in the room changed drastically while the assessment was being conducted. The Bod Pod test is now complete, and the client's results will appear on the screen. The results are given in the following order: percent of body fat, percent of fat-free mass. This includes bones, muscles, blood, organs, fluid, etc. Anything that is not fat will be in this category. Then the percentages are given in the form of pounds as well, broken down the same way. The client's body mass is their total weight. Notice that an estimated RMR, or resting metabolic rate, is given as well. This is based off of the client's body composition. Estimated TEE, or total energy expenditure, is listed as well. A daily activity level is available to choose from based on the client's current lifestyle. This will have a direct effect on the RMR and TEE numbers given. Today's client was placed in the sedentary category. Notice when the daily activity level was chosen, the estimated TEE numbers populated. Once a category has been chosen, click Next. This screen allows the client's results to be printed off. There are several options for printing. If the client is going to get a separate metabolic assessment, then the metabolic information can be skipped. Additional information can also be printed out with the results to help further explain results and to help the client interpret information after they have left. This is what the printed results look like. The bottom half of the sheet will show the various categories the client can be placed in based on their results. Be aware that the percentages for males and females is different. These results are from a female client. Each category also has an explanation to define what the term risky, excess fat, moderately lean, lean, ultra lean, and risky low are. The second sheet is an example of what it looks like when a client has performed multiple tests. The client's progress is tracked by the chart on the left as well as separate charts on the right. Each chart is broken down by the category measured: percentage of fat, pounds of fat, percentage of fat-free weight, and pounds of fat-free weight. The client's total change is listed in bold at the bottom of the chart on the left. Again, this shows total change from the very first test to the most recent test. Once printing is complete, click Finish. This goes back to the home screen, and another client can now be tested by repeating the process, starting with Test.